You. Guess who showed up?
Did we do it?
Yeah, he shows up. Hey, doctor.
Hello.
Now get the rest of the story.
It's a good thing I don't have to make my a living in the electronic arenas.
Dr.
Well,
Dalton,
we're blessed to have you. Thank you so much.
we are.
Thanks for having me.
We've been on a fun journey in hearing about people's lives being changed, and you're another person whose life has been changed. Dr. Dalton, tell us how did you first hear about this? Was it Ashley?
No. I actually first heard about redox signaling in December of 2010 at the World Congress on Anti-Aging Medicine. And Gary Samuelson was the speaker, and he was presenting, and he was bringing out all of this tremendous information of how redox signals work and what it was. And people were saying, well, what's the product? And he says, I can't tell you. And so we had to go meet him at the booth afterward to find out the only redox signaling molecule in the world that we had access to at the time. And I visited with Dr. Samuelson at that time.
Wow, fantastic. And I know when we spoke earlier, there was a study that was done that very much excited you as well, right? A recent study.
Yes. Actually, when I first found out about asea in 2010, I missed the boat. It was too big. I didn't see it. Took it for a couple months, didn't notice much, didn't really know what we had. The double-blind studies weren't out. But when Ashley showed up at my office and said, and the double-blind placebo-controlled trial studies just came out last month. And I said, really? And she said, yeah, here's some more scientific studies that have just been published. I said, I will read them and get back with you. And she didn't even have time to drive home before I read them and called her and said, sign me up.
Fantastic. And now you've got more experiences. It's not just Ashley, right? There's you've integrated this into your practice, and you've seen what have you seen with your patients?
I've seen so many things. We could probably talk until tomorrow morning, but what you and I talked about earlier is that this is such big news. This is such good news for mankind that, I am basically morally and ethically obligated to share this with my patients because it can make such a difference. And we are seeing things with asea that even in anti-aging and regenerative medicine, we couldn't see helped. And of course, we have to make the disclaimers that asea doesn't claim to cure anything. But what I will tell you is it normalizes your cellular function. And when that happens, the body heals itself.
They just had me on theirs.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'll get Dr. Lee muted there. Well, that's exciting. And so now you have a different faith and belief in the science now that you've. That's quite a story from Dr. Samuelson, right? And I just love the fact that he said, "Well, I can't tell you about it because he was up on stage," and then seeing the study, and then what happened to Ashley. And this has now changed your life and many of your patients' lives. And like you said, Dr. Dalton, you're seeing things you would never expect to see. You're seeing results where you wouldn't normally see results. I mean, this is really
right. It's like I told an integrative doctor, a friend of mine from the Dallas area, who's very sharp, and I will tell you that we get approached all the time. And I was trying to approach him, and I told him, I said, look, Dr. J, I said, I have seen the blind see. I've seen the deaf hear, and I've heard and seen people with autism go almost completely back to normal thus far with this product. And there's nothing else on the market like it. And, I'm just saying that's what I've seen, as well as quite a number of other different stories. I've got hundreds of patients that could give stories on their testimonies. One of them that you and I talked about earlier is I have a patient who was had an eye condition. She was blind, and she is now from basically blind, only able to determine night and day. She's seeing 20/70 and improving, and she is the only patient that the head of the department at the medical school, the only patient that he's ever had in over 20 years of practice that's ever gotten well.
Wow.
The only one.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
She's using asea as an eye drop, and of course she's also drinking it. And she has no interest in the business, but I think she's going to start sharing it.
This is so exciting to me because, I know because we're not an FDA drug, we can't claim to cure, prevent, or treat any condition or disease. What do you say to people to sort of deal with that?
Well, which part of the question is not?
Well, I mean, how do you help people understand? Because normally, we're expecting a major breakthrough to come through like traditional channels, which you are part of that because you're a doctor. But normally we're expecting, to hear about something so significant in much bigger ways. And so the fact that this isn't a drug, how do you talk about it to your patients?
Well, there's a number of ways to do it. So one of the things is, so if I was talking to you, I could say, hey, look, you're my patient. I said, there is something that you deserve to know about it. It may not be for you, but you deserve to know about it. And people are using it in getting well all over the world with your condition. And I says it was originally designed or discovered by the drug companies. They tried to patent it, but couldn't get a patent on it because in order to get to make it a drug, you have to show toxicity, and they couldn't do it. And I can, if they're interested, give them a little bit more than that. But the main thing is one, I care about you. Number two, it may not be for you, but also people are getting well all over the world. And number three, here I'm stumbling for a second, but three, you deserve to know about it.
Yeah.
And the decision is theirs. It's up to them to make the decision.
Well, and I love what you said about people are getting well all over the world. And the fact that you're a doctor, and if you said that to me, of course, sign me up for it. I want that. So that's fantastic.
Well, we joke around in my office. We've seen it do so many things, but we have seen one thing for sure that it hasn't fixed. And I'll borrow this from somebody in my office. It can't fix stupid. So, other than that, we've seen do miracles.
That's
but it can't fix stupid.
That's great. And Dr. Dalton, give us an idea of how you view this will affect the future of healthcare.
Well, this is definitely going to change it. And this is what I tell fellow physicians. I said, look, I'm telling you about it now, but I'm telling you that you're going to hear about it again. You're going to hear about it from the patients that are taking it, getting good results. You're going to hear about it from your relatives that are taking it and getting good results. You may even hear about it from people from the church or family members. I said, but you are going to hear about it. And I said, you really need to consider looking at it. Look at the science. It's there. It's validated. It's real. Because you don't want to look back a year from now saying, gosh, Steve, I wish I'd have listened to you then. Because this is really amazing.
Wow. That's just tremendous. And here you are, you found a way to integrate it into your practice. And I know that's one of the big discussions I've had with other physicians. And so you have complete confidence and you found a very easy pathway for that integration to occur because you've already helped hundreds of people with it. So, correct. Yeah, good for you. Good for you.
It's validated by science. You can't argue the fact that it is absolutely validated by science. And there are over 17,000 published medical studies on redox signaling. And of course, we have the double-blind placebo-controlled studies done on asea. And the company that is doing this validation is a company that validates 8 out of the 10 top pharmaceutical and biotech companies' products in the whole world. So this is no small potatoes. This is big. I mean, when I say big, this is big, and people don't realize how big it is yet. I mean, this is huge. This is life changing.
Wow. Wow. I'm very excited to hear you use these words. You know, the study that you're referring to, was it the 2017 Touré laboratory genetic study?
Yes.
Yeah. I was so impressed when I saw that, right? And from my perspective, when I think about the average age was 35-year-olds with nothing wrong with them that anybody knew about, and they saw a 20 to a 31% increase in their signaling. Normally, we don't look at our bodies breaking down till well after 35, like 50 or 60. So that was like an aha moment for me, realizing that, wow, I think because of what we're all exposed to in this modern world we live in today, as far as toxins and stress and everything else in our lives, that literally our bodies are likely breaking down a lot earlier than what we would expect, or that we would have knowledge of previously. And the fact that this genetic study showed such a dramatic improvement with folks 35 years old average age, that's a big deal, right?
That is a big deal. As far as detox goes, in the skin studies, it talked about glutathione, and most doctors know about glutathione. I should say should be all of us, but it's very important. Glutathione, for example, is the body's number one antioxidant defense system. And in the past, the only way we had to get it up was to give it IV. Pills don't work very well. And if you take the right supplements, if you're lucky, you can get it up 200 to 300% if you respond really well. Well, the asea can increase it by 800%. And that is just completely mind-blowing. If you know anything about biochemistry, physiology, nutrition, when you get an 800% increase in the body's natural production, all you can say, you almost leaves you speechless. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible. And we're turning on the biomechanical processes in the body the way they were originally designed to work, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Really fantastic. This has been really fun to, when I talk to you, I can sense your confidence in this. I can sense, obviously, the results that you're experiencing with your patients. And that, to me, makes me feel proud, number one, and it also makes me feel bold and confident to go out and talk to people. Like you said, number one, everybody deserves to know about it. That was your number 3 thing. And, this is absolutely incredible information. And ultimately, this is what it comes down, I think, for all of us is how do we raise our belief? Like you said, sometimes things are so big that we don't see them like it was for you initially. And
I think
go ahead.
You said something interesting with the word belief. There's something that goes beyond belief. And when you start to see the results, you have a belief. But what supersedes believing is knowing. So I don't have to have belief anymore. I know about it. I don't have to be convinced. I know.
Yeah.
There's no belief. If that's good for you.
Oh,
that makes sense.
That's so good for me, because actually that's what I talk about all the time is, when we can, it goes beyond faith. It goes beyond belief. And when you get to that knowing, and whatever it takes, we all have a different level of what it takes for us to get there. For me, it was what it did for me and people in my family, and also 5 years of watching hundreds, if not thousands, of lives being changed. It definitely is that knowing, and that creates a lot of confidence in my ability to go out and my drive to go out and tell everybody I can about this. So fantastic.
Real quick, but talk to the new people though, because Doctor, you're at an advantage because you see a lot of people come into your office. You see a lot of great results. There are people out here that may not feel any result. Can you reaffirm to them that this material is working, whether you feel it or not?
Absolutely. Several things is one, it is working. Okay. It may not be working right now for what you want, but it is definitely working. Let me tell a story. So I have a 80-year-old gentleman who was diagnosed with a terminal condition. He was given 2 months to live. And this was almost a year ago now. And his doctor said, we're going to give you this pill and you're not going to get better. It's not going to cure you, but you might live longer than 2 months. So he was 80 years old, and that's important. And he was taking 4 ounces of asea a day. Well, this 80-year-old gentleman was not doing well. He was dying. He went to bed. His doctor told him to call all the family because grandpa's not getting up, call the funeral home, make arrangements because it's over. Well, his son didn't like that answer. So he increased him from 4 ounces of asea a day to initially he increased him to 16. So his dad is in bed now for 3 weeks straight, and they have to get him up out of bed just to get up to go to the bathroom, and they have to feed him and all that. So he's dying. And the day his son gives him 16 ounces, dad feels good, gets up out of bed, walks around his ranch. Kind of a big change. So next day, 16 ounces, dad gets out of bed, goes walking around the ranch again. He's feeling good. So he's doing this every day. Well, for whatever reason, his specialty doctor is monitoring his blood work every 2 weeks and calls him and says, your blood work's getting better. And calls him a couple weeks after that and says, your blood work's getting better. And so he's in my office with his wife and his son, and they're telling me the story. And he looks at me and said, my son saved my life, didn't he? And I said, yeah, he did. And, tears are kind of welling up and you're kind of fighting them back because the son's in the room, son saved his dad's life. Wow. And, dad was extremely happy. And I said, no. I said, do you know why 4 ounces didn't work for you? And he said, no. And I said, it's because you're 80 years old. I said, you're 80. I said, your body is production of redox signaling molecules is down by about 80%. I said, 4 ounces wasn't enough to do you any good. It wasn't enough to make the big difference. So that's why when you took the high dose, that's when you get all the results. And it's like I tell people, if you're not getting a result, you probably need a higher dose. So if you have a forest fire, you don't put it out with a garden hose, okay? You got to put it out with fire hoses to get the fire out. And then after you get it under control, maybe you can cut back on the dose and keep the fire out with a garden hose. So he wasn't taking enough.
Now, doctor, speak to the younger people as well, because it's not just us older people, right, that need it. Because younger people are coming under more and more and more attack, kind of like Carolyn was. So younger people are getting older people diseases, issues earlier in life, right? Do you see that a lot in your practice?
Yes, a lot with every disease. I mean, we are seeing diseases and problems that normally, when I started medical school in the middle 80s, a lot of the diseases didn't hit till 60s. At late 60s or even after that. And we're seeing some of these diseases frequently occur in people in the 30s and 20s. I mean, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, for example, in children was unheard of. Shingles, I mean, who got shingle? Only your senior citizens, but now everybody's getting it. So we are seeing all sorts of diseases at younger ages. And the younger people are facing many more health challenges than people did, 30, 40, 50 years ago. The environment has changed. Where we live has changed. Our food supply has changed. And we're under a constant assault. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so if people aren't getting, if people get on asea and they start to feel a little bit more icky than they did, a little bit worse, that's a good sign that there's something happening, right? Sometimes we're going to notice perhaps a little bit of a detox.
Yes, that does happen. It doesn't happen often. I haven't seen it, but it does happen. And in that case, you should take a smaller dose until you detox to the point where it's not making you sick. And there's an interesting thing I've noticed, and you've maybe noticed yourself, but most people who take asea, at first it tastes sort of like swimming pool water. Okay. Then once you're on it for a couple of weeks, when your metabolism improves and you're starting to get better, the taste changes and it actually tastes like salt water. And then after you've been on it longer and your metabolism improves better, okay, it tastes like tap water. And you can't tell the difference between this tea and tap water. And that's my personal observation. So if you tell me it's tasting like pool water, I know that you've not been taking enough for a long enough time, and it's not made a significant enough change in your metabolism. That's a Daltonism.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's great information. You know, as we wrap up here, one of our guests asked this question, and I'll just set it up. So they're asking the difference between stem cells and redox signaling molecules, and I know that stem cells are precursor cells, and it hasn't been decided what they haven't decided what they're going to be yet. And I know there's about 100,000 variations of what a stem cell, what type of actual cell a stem cell can become, whether it's a hip cell or whatever part of the body. And I do know that redox signaling molecules ultimately are the tool that actually tell the stem cell what to become, wherever stem cells are. So it's a pretty big difference, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it is. And how and one another way that we can explain this is, let's say you're going to build a house or even repair a house. First of all, you have to have your material, okay? That's your vitamins and your minerals. You have to have your master work crew that can fix anything, and that would be your stem cells. Well, just because you have all your building material and all your stem cells, you have to have a proper signal to the workers, the stem cells, to tell them what to do. And that's exactly what redox is. It's a master foreman with a master plan that says, you guys do this. And of course, the stem cells have the ability to fix anything. And redox says, do it. And this is what to do.
That's a great explanation. That is absolutely great explanation. I think everybody got that one. So, Dr. Dalton, as we wrap up here, first of all, I want to thank you for being with us. You've made this really, really fun and you're really knowledgeable. And really, it's the knowing part of you that made this very powerful, I think, for everybody. And so the future is looking pretty good from where you're sitting right now, isn't it?
Yes, with the asea, it looks great. But my best advice to patients is don't get sick, okay?
Yeah.
Try to stay healthy, because the doctors are not in the driver's seat, okay? So look out for yourself, take your asea, live a healthy lifestyle. Don't expect the pharmaceutical companies to have your best interest at heart. They're mostly interested in the wallet biopsy. It's all about the money.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. Well said. Well, Dr. Dalton, thanks for being with us. You were amazing. I want to also thank Dr. Osler for jumping on, and Ashley and Carolyn. Thanks for sharing your amazing stories. You guys, this has been a great evening.
And I want to bring up one comment you made, Dr. Dalton, was you don't know what you don't know. For people that don't know, right? They don't know what they don't know. I love that comment.
And that's one of the things that when I'm approaching other doctors or talking to medical students, that's universal. None of us know. I mean, we don't know what we don't know. I mean, this is plain and simple. And that's a very easy way to break the ice with somebody. And so if you're going to know things about what you do that I'm clueless about. So I can learn from you in your area of expertise, hopefully like you can learn from me in my area of expertise. And hopefully we work together as a team and we complement each other.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, guys, it's been a really, really amazing evening. Again, thanks for everybody getting on and making this a successful call and a successful experience. And
thanks for having me.
Dalton, I can't wait to have you back on sometime because this was really cool.
Thank you.
Well, William, you want to announce who we have on next Friday? Saturday.
No, you go for it, Jim. Yeah, you go for it.
Step Hawk and his beautiful wife will be joining us next Friday, Saturday for them. They are in Australia. And Step, I'm not sure if you're on now, but we are very excited. You talk about another life-changing story. It's what Seth Hawk and his wife has been through, and then also what they've been able to turn that into as far as being able to help, like Dr. Dalton and with Carolyn and us and the rest of the people on this call. We're changing the world, and it's absolutely amazing. And again, Dr. Dalton, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I just pray it doesn't take another patient to come into another doctor's office to see what this stuff does. But sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah. Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you back here next Friday.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Carolyn. See you guys.